Tia. Hi, everyone.
Could you imagine America with lower crime rates, where more jobs are being created, less stressful individuals, and more revenue for our government? Well, I'm going to tell you how we can achieve that. Today, I'm going to talk to you about legalizing marijuana. Legalizing marijuana will eliminate wasted money and nonviolent citizens from developing criminal records. Also, it will help with the medical field with pain management and various other ailments and diseases. First, I'm going to talk to you about the problem we have with the prohibition of marijuana. Then, I'm going to talk to you about the solution of legalizing marijuana for people who want to enjoy the luxury of using marijuana and not only save, but make the government money. Prohibition started after the Mexican Revolution and a wave of immigrants came to America, mostly in Texas and Louisiana. Along with that, they brought with them their native language, their culture, and as well as their customs. One custom in particular was the use of cannabis for medicine and a relaxant, and they called it marijuana. Although, according to drugpolicy.org, Americans were already familiar with the use of cannabis because it was present in almost all tinctures and medicines available at the time. But the word marijuana was a foreign term to Americans. The government used that, and thus the demonization of cannabis was an extension of the demonization of Mexican immigrants. This type of control worked very well, so well that it became a national strategy for certain populations to be watched and controlled by the government. So they established the Substance Control Act in 1970, which was replacing the unconstitutional Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. The Substance Control Act established schedules for ranking of substance according to their dangerousness. Marijuana was placed in the most restrictive category, Schedule 1, even after the Schaefer Commission declared that marijuana should not be in Schedule 1 and wasn't sure of its designation as an illicit substance. This brings me to the money and time we are spending to keep marijuana illegal. ACLUWA.org stated that the efforts to reduce marijuana in the United States largely depends on arrest, imprisonment, and the seizure of property. With the increase of arrests, marijuana prices have dropped, the potency has increased, it's readily available to everyone, and the usage rates have increased as well. With that being said, the goals of marijuana prohibition are not being achieved. According to WhyLegalizeMarijuana.com, in 2009, 850,000 Americans were arrested on marijuana charges, and 88% of those were just for possession. Not only are we taking up unnecessary space in our prisons, we are spending unnecessary money. Non-violent marijuana offenders receive longer sentences than given to violent offenders, and that costs about $23,000 of tax dollars per year. On top of everything else, the law disproportionately impacts minorities. Although blacks and Hispanics make up only about 20% of marijuana smokers in the United States, they represent about 58% of the marijuana offenders sentenced under federal law. The prohibition of marijuana started because Americans judging something that they didn't understand. The government used that lack of knowledge and instillment of fear against us. They made us believe that something we've been using all along was now this horrible drug. We are wasting money, and real criminals can be occupying those prison cells. Now, of course, the solution is to legalize marijuana. Based on history, prohibition is not something that we are good at following through with. When we tried prohibition of alcohol, we learned that the damage done by the crime and violence associated with it far outweighed the damage of actually legalizing it. As well as with tobacco, we have vigorously displayed ads and commercials teaching everyone the bad effects that it can have on your health. According to prohibitionist.org, replacing marijuana prohibition with a system of taxation and regulation similar to what is used for alcohol beverages would produce a combined savings in tax revenue of between $10 billion and $14 billion per year. And the federal and state government combined would save about $7.7 billion in expenditures on prohibition enforcement. Depending on how we choose to sell marijuana, the revenue from sales taxes would range from $2.4 billion if we tax like regular consumer goods to about $6.2 billion if we tax like alcohol and tobacco. The only thing that's keeping this natural weed a part of the war on drugs is our government. Over 100 million Americans have tried or still use marijuana, and 43% of Americans say that marijuana should be legal. Marijuana is substantially less harmful than tobacco and alcohol put together. While no deaths have been tied to the use of marijuana, we have about 80,000 people whose lives are taken from alcohol per year, as well as 440,000 annually on tobacco. There are also a multitude of health benefits associated with the marijuana usage. According to BusinessInsider.com, it can be used for the treatment of glaucoma, improvement of lung health, controlling epileptic seizures, prevention of nausea, and decreases anxiety. Research done on breast cancer cells in a lab shows that there is a chemical in marijuana that stops growth of cancer cells. There is more than one benefit with legalizing marijuana. The government will gain a new lucrative income and save money simultaneously. The medical field will flourish with new options to treat a great amount of sickness instead of prescribing deadly narcotics. The prohibition of marijuana was racially charged and continues to be racially driven. The amount of time spent on trying to get rid of marijuana can be spent on real crime. The benefits for the government as well as the medical field outweigh any negativity that has been associated with marijuana. Next time you hear someone talking negatively about marijuana, just remember the issue was never marijuana prior to 1937. We were using it for exactly what it is, medicine. And in closing, it is time for the government to realize the truth. Marijuana doesn't destroy lives, prohibition does.